Hey robot fans, welcome back to the channel. As one of YouTube's biggest stars with an immeasurable amount of subscribers and women just throwing themselves at me, you can imagine that a lot of companies approach me to promote their product on my channel. Now, I usually excuse me. I usually say no to that kind of thing because excuse me. Crisp and refreshing.
Drink Coke and stuff.
I usually say no to that kind of thing because I'm not a sellout. But if you watch this channel, you know that I do a lot of 3D printing. And if you watch this channel, chances are you do a lot of 3D printing too. So there's no doubt you've read articles or seen posts about your printers spewing particle death into your print room. There's VOCs and microplastics just swirling through the air, entering our lungs and causing a slow, painful death. So when EnviroKlenz asked me to test their air purification system, I jumped at the chance. And now I can breathe easy, knowing I'm doing everything I can to purify the air in my print room. But hey, you didn't come here to see me do an ad for EnviroKlenz, and they didn't ask me to do one. They asked me to torture test this thing, so let's blow up some batteries.
I built this enclosure out of some plexiglass, some wood, and aluminum. It's definitely not airtight, but should do a pretty good job of keeping everything in there. We have this little blast chamber over here with a specialized blasting brick and decorative backsplash tile. No reason this can't look good, right? The EnviroKlenz unit is in a connecting chamber along with an air quality sensor, and I have 2 cameras inside the blast chamber, and I'm going to have 2 outside, so we'll have 4 angles of destruction. Doing what I do, making all these robotics videos, I have no shortage of lithium batteries laying around, and these things do not last forever, and some of them are on their way out.
Like this little guy right here. You see how puffed out this is? Whenever LiPo batteries get super puffed out like this, they're usually on their way out anyway, so I'm just going to give it a helping hand. I was actually going to make a safety video on how to safely dispose of LiPo batteries, but I guess I went the complete opposite route on that. Okay, so the question now is, what are we going to do to make these batteries explode? And I thought the most logical thing to do would be to intentionally do the thing that I'm always trying to not do accidentally, which is to short circuit the batteries. So I built this little wiring device. It has bullet connectors at the top which will connect to the battery, and on the back end it is just a simple power switch. We flick the switch, complete the circuit, and hopefully short circuit the battery. Now I know what you're thinking. Wow, Patrick, that is a wonderful piece of engineering that you just came up with, but can we talk about the gigantic knife you have sitting on your workbench? Ha ha ha, yes. What is this, you ask? Well, this, my friends, is Plan B.
So I loaded the battery into the super specialized blasting chamber, turned the EnviroKlenz on full blast, made sure our super scientific air sensor was working, flicked the switch, ran away like a girl, and nothing. Wow, looks like our short circuit mechanism wasn't beefy enough to handle all the current coming from that battery.
So what happened was there was so much current going through the wire that it actually melted the wires right off the switch. That solder just melted and the wires popped right off. So I don't think we're going to be able to use a switch to short circuit it, so I came up with an alternative here. This is a piece of steel. You can see I have the negative end of the wire wrapped around one hole, and I have the positive end wrapped around a magnet. So we're going to eliminate the solder from the equation by just doing that. So this should complete the circuit and hopefully short circuit the battery.
So now we're in business, and you can tell we're in business by the fact that I'm wearing this giant face mask, and the fact that my wife felt she needed to move to the next county to film this. Time to short circuit this bad boy. The magnet made real solid contact, and as soon as it did, we had some smoke and a rapid puffifying of the battery, but kind of stopped there.
Okay, so what we have now here is an extremely puffy battery. I think the same thing happened with the desoldering, only it happened here at the connection of the bullet connectors. So we never actually got to rupture the battery, even though it looks like it's just about to do that all on its own. This actually worked really well. I wish I did the same thing at this end, but...
Man, who'd have known it'd be so hard to make a LiPo explode? Well, at least I know what to do now. finally we are getting some of that cell rupturing goodness we are after. This first one was pretty cool. My stab ruptured only the first cell of the 3 cells in this battery, and each explosion compromised the next cell, so we had a nice chain reaction all from a single stab. Now, let us not forget our mission here. Science! This whole time, the EnviroKlenz has been pumping this smoke through the system and clearing it out post-haste. If you look closely, you can see the air circulating like crazy inside of this chamber, and the smoke is clearing out really quickly. This video is not sped up. It literally swallowed every one of these bursts in just a couple of minutes. My original goal was to get some super scientific data for you, but this air quality sensor went from great air quality to poor air quality almost instantly, and these numbers weren't tracking in any sensical or reliable way. I think this entire experiment was working outside of the standard range of the air sensor, and it made the data kinda hard to work with. But we're not gonna let that stop us. So that's pretty much how it went for the afternoon, just rupturing cells, filling the chamber with horrible toxic smoke, and letting the EnviroKlenz do its thing. Honestly, it's not a bad way to spend an afternoon in mandatory quarantine. All in all, the EnviroKlenz cleared out the smoke from about 12 lithium cells. I tried to do the same routine with some smaller cells towards the end, but they didn't really explode, they kind of just fizzled out. But in the end, we had a bevy of fried battery carcasses and a tried and tested air purifier. Mission accomplished. So let's dive right into the EnviroKlenz and see what we could take away from all of this. The EnviroKlenz unit is dead simple. It's a box that holds 2 filters sitting on top of a giant fan that pulls the air through those 2 filters. This fan is super beefy and can move a ton of air, as we saw just before. This top filter here is the EnviroKlenz air cartridge, which is the first line of defense in capturing large particles and absorbing a ton of that nasty air. If we compare the post-experiment air cartridge to our fresh-to-death clean one here, we can see that this thing has been put through the ringer, and we can also see that our HEPA filter here is a nice new shade of gray as well. The HEPA filter is the next line of defense, and having this filter in your system is kind of what sets apart the real deal filtration systems from your lower end systems. HEPA filters are pretty badass, and they can capture particles larger than 0.3 microns in size with 99.9% effectiveness. Ain't nothing getting through this bad boy. So this part's kind of funny. I thought it would be a good idea for the video to pull apart the HEPA filter to show how it diffused the smoke through the thickness of the filter, but right about this point I remembered that HEPA filters are made with fiberglass, and I'm tearing through it with my fingers and bare hands with no mask, so I noped out of that one pretty quickly. So I think that about wraps up this experiment. It may lack a little in data, but luckily EnviroKlenz has my back with all the air filtration data you could ever want or handle. If you're into that kind of thing, I'll put a link in the description to this data sheet.
Alright, that's going to do it for this video. Thanks for tuning in. If you do a lot of 3D printing like I do, especially if you print with ABS or some of the other nastier filaments, you should really consider upgrading your setup to include an air purification system. Your lungs will thank you, I promise. Huge thanks to EnviroKlenz for sponsoring this video. I put a link in the description to the EnviroKlenz purification system, so check that out if you have a chance. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Drink Coke and stuff.